Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Life of a Business Manager podcast. This is the podcast where we break down the real world skills every business manager needs to succeed. I'm your host, Sina Chan, and today we're diving into another important topic, which is dealing with and managing burnout as a business manager. Now, for all the business managers out there, we all know that the burnout is real, but I can only speak from my experience. For example, when your to-do list turns into a novel and starts piling up and up, when you're having to support multiple departments like me, where you're responding to everyone all at once, and when you're having to turn your brain on for every single meeting that you're invited to, while trying to meet every deadline. This is not possible. So today we're tackling a topic that doesn't get talked about enough, which is burnout. If you've ever felt like your to-do list is running your life, or that no matter how much you give to your work, it's never enough, you're not alone. Burnout is real, and it doesn't just affect your productivity. It actually affects your mental health, your relationship, and your ability to lead a team. In this episode, we're going to talk about what burnout actually looks like, how to spot the warning signs, and most importantly, how business managers can protect their energy. So if you're running on low energy like me, this episode is for you. Okay, everyone, let's dive into it. Let's start with segment 1, which is understanding burnout. Let's just start with the definition. However you want to describe burnout, but here it is. Burnout is more than just being tired. It's actually a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress and anxiety. For example, typically most people work 40 hours a week, but in current state, I actually don't think that's normal anymore. All of us are working 40 plus hours a week, and we also have to come home to our family. We're dealing with our own problems, and at first, you do feel productive, but over time, you start to dread Monday mornings, you start snapping at colleagues and losing motivation. That's burnout creeping in. The key distinction is remember that being busy doesn't mean that you're being productive. Being burnout means you're disengaged, drained, and no longer effective. So here are some warning signs for you to consider when trying to manage and deal with burnout. The first one is when you're constantly exhausted, even after resting. The second is when you're typically a very optimistic person, just like me, but you start to get irritable or short temper with your colleagues. The third is showing a decline in your performance despite working 10 times harder. And the fourth is when you notice yourself of feeling detached or cynical about your work. These are just warning signs for you to look out for if you are starting to feel burnout. So now we're going to talk about examples of what can help people feel like this is a normal situation sometimes. Okay, everyone, let's get to some stories and examples because I think that this will help you understand as far as burnout, how it works, and why the stories can help you feel like this is normal sometimes. There's nothing wrong with you. This is normal when you're working over 40 plus hours, when you have a long to-do list and you seem to not be able to get caught up. I don't want you to feel like it's not normal. So here are some examples. So example 1 is if you're working as a seasonal retail worker, and we all know Black Friday is coming up, this could include long hours, busy times for the workers. And when you're in retail, you push through these holiday seasons without taking any type of breaks. And by the time January hits, you're so drained that it took you 3 weeks just to actually feel this burnout. Example 2 is, since I'm here in the Bay Area, I wanted to talk about the startup mentality. That consists of long hours, always being available, and if there's a startup company that is at the early stages, for example, the AI companies right now, burnout can develop really quickly. The lesson with these two examples is burnout doesn't just affect the business manager, it actually can ripple out to the team, the clients, and the company's reputation. The good news is there are ways to protect your energy and bounce back stronger. So in segment 3, we're going to talk about setting strategies to protect your energy. So here are some strategies below. The first one is to set boundaries. Now, in life in general, you do need to set boundaries with everyone, friends, family, colleagues, whoever you're working with. An example is a business manager setting a rule that they do not receive any type of emails after 7 p.m. or communicate it clearly to their team. This can help increase productivity because everyone works smarter during the day in order to meet that deadline. The second strategy is to assign delegation. Now, I did talk about delegation in previous episodes, so go take a listen. Instead of micromanaging every client and taking over every single team member's task, make sure to assign ownerships to your team. Make sure to delegate properly because that does free up your time and it also helps your team develop their skills. Always delegate tasks that make sense and that is appropriate for you and that is helpful for you to move on through the day. The third strategy is to make sure you have a recovery routine. For example, a business manager can take a 20-minute walk before checking all their emails, which helps to reduce stress and anxiety. Another example is for me, I go to the gym at least 3 days a week, or I take short or long walks depending on the availability on my calendar. But any form of exercise will help you mentally. The fourth strategy is to take micro breaks. For example, you could use any techniques to work 25 minutes of focus work and then just take a 5-minute break after that. And do this over time, and this will prevent you from mental fatigue. The reason why is because if you don't take breaks, it adds up and eventually you'll feel burnout. The fifth strategy is to develop a support system. This is so important because you really want to have colleagues, coworkers, managers that are supportive of you and that you feel comfortable sharing that you are just completely burned out. I have people at my work that I literally vent to and I know I do it, but I do take advantage of it because it makes me feel a lot better and I don't feel like I'm alone. So that is very important to start to develop a support system. Even if it's at home, you can always talk to your family members and friends and vent that out. But once you take it out verbally, you'll feel a lot better. Organizations can play a huge role in this. So let's talk about segment 4, which is how to manage and utilize your resources at your current organization. So most companies have solutions to manage burnout, and we could talk about them. Now, these are just examples. Not every single company is going to offer this, but there is some sort of resources to help you deal and manage with it. The first one is, for example, if you are overwhelmed with your current schedule, or if you are having to go in the office 4 or 5 days a week and that is burning you out and the commute is just driving you crazy, I would ask your manager or the organization for a flexible schedule, especially if you are a high performer, because companies that allow hybrid work or any type of flexible hours see lower burnout rates. For example, a firm that shifts from a 4-day work week reported higher productivity and happier managers. The second solution is mental health resources. So some organization will provide access to counseling or wellness stipends. For example, you can get reimbursed for gym memberships or meditations, or they have counseling sessions for you to talk about your burnout and be able to manage it so you can be a successful business manager or any employee out there. The third solution is recognition programs. So we actually have this at my current organization, and it actually does make me feel good to get recognized. Managers often feel burnout when they feel invisible. So an example is celebrating all of the behind the scenes wins. So if you have managers recognizing your work, or if there's a program where you're getting recognized in a live organization feed, that also helps. And these are just some ideas of what some organizations do have. So we're only trying to cover some of the solutions and strategies. There may be more ideas and ways to utilize your resources at your current organization, but definitely look into it, especially if you are feeling burned out. Okay, everyone, that's it for today's episode of Life of a Business Manager podcast. Remember that burnout isn't easy to manage. It's just a signal that sometimes something needs to change. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's essential for you, your team, and your business. And you want to take care of your mental state because that's the only way to move forward in your current role. If you found today's episode helpful, share it with another manager who might need the reminder. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning into Life of a Business Manager. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a colleague who might need some assistance with managing burnout. And if you have any questions about the role, suggestions for future topics, or stories of your own, please feel free to email me in the show notes below. As always, thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, take care of yourself, everyone. Bye. Hi, everyone. Just a reminder, the content provided in our podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to consult with appropriate professionals before making any business decisions based on the information provided in the podcast. We do not endorse any products or services mentioned unless stated in any of our episodes. Thank you for listening.